This is a radio station of the SDC radio networks.
Lock it on to the best station on the net, around the planet on the World Wide Web. The Daily Dose. Don't go anywhere. In the mix.
Good afternoon to all our listeners tuning in to the Rachelle Buchanan Show, the gardening guru of unique detailed gardens and the answer to all your landscape and garden questions. Here now, ladies and gentlemen, Rachelle Buchanan.
Building relationships during recovery from mental and substance use disorders can put the strength of family and community behind you. We're all connected, offering encouragement, support, and hope. Join the Voices for Recovery. Strengthen families and communities.
For confidential information on mental and substance use disorders, including prevention and treatment referrals for you or someone you know, call 1-800-662-HELP. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
This is VOA News. I'm Jim Burtell. Ukrainian government forces and pro-Russian separatists in eastern Ukraine have started an all-for-all prisoner swap. This will allow all remaining prisoners of the 5-year conflict to return home. The agreement was concluded by Russian leader Vladimir Putin and Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky in Paris in December. An official in Yemen says a ballistic missile attack ripped through a military parade, killing at least 6 troops and 3 children. More than 20 people, including civilians, were wounded in the blast. A fresh Taliban attack in Afghanistan has killed 17 pro-government forces, even as the insurgent group is reported to be mulling over a brief ceasefire to try to seal a foreign troop withdrawal deal with the United States. The overnight deadly insurgent attack targeted a security outpost in northeastern Takar province. North Korea began a closely watched ruling meeting led by Kim Jong-un, state media reported Sunday, amid signs Pyongyang is set to announce a firmer stance toward the United States. We get more from VOA's Marissa Melton.
Kim Jong-un is widely expected in the next week to announce his plans for North Korea following the expiration of its self-imposed end-of-year deadline for the United States to offer a better proposal in stalled nuclear talks. North Korea has boycotted nuclear talks for months and recently threatened to resume long-range missile and nuclear tests. An official said earlier this month that denuclearization is off the negotiating table. Those threats, mostly made by lower-level officials, are widely seen as an attempt to increase pressure on the United States ahead of North Korea's deadline. Marissa Melton, VOA News.
And from Washington, you're listening to VOA News. British counter-terrorism police have arrested a 21-year-old man on suspicion of preparing an extremist act. AP's Zaria Shackley reports.
The suspect was arrested at a residence in East London. Police say he's been questioned on suspicion of the commission, preparation or instigation of acts of terrorism. The property where he was arrested is being searched by police. The man has not been charged or identified. Police did not provide any details about the suspect's actions. Zaria Shackley, London.
Turkish military cargo plane landed in the Somali capital on Sunday to evacuate people badly wounded in a truck bombing in the city a day earlier. The attack killed at least 90 people, including 2 Turkish nationals. The plane also brought emergency medical staff and supplies. The protests in Hong Kong continued Sunday. Reuters' David Doyle reports.
More than 1,000 rallied in a rain-soaked Hong Kong on Sunday as a part of demonstrations marking the end of a tumultuous year. In a park in the financial district, a protest timeline was laid on the ground for participants to pen their thoughts. What started with demonstrations against a now withdrawn extradition bill morphed into a broader pro-democracy movement, with 6 months of protests that have, at times, been marked by violence. More protests are planned in the next few days, including a countdown to New Year's Day and a march on January the 1st that could attract a big crowd.
That's Reuters' David Doyle. An American astronaut has set a new mark for the longest spaceflight by a female. AP Shelley Adler has her story.
NASA officials say Christina Koch has broken the 288-day record set by former space station commander Peggy Whitson. The 40-year-old Koch, who's an electrical engineer from Montana, has been in space since March 15th. She's expected to spend a total of 328 days on board the space station. Before breaking the endurance record for a woman in space, Koch set another milestone as part of the first all-female spacewalking team in October. I'm Shelley Appler.
Lizzo has been named the Associated Press's Entertainer of the Year. The AP's Ed Donahue has her story.
Lizzo has dominated the pop, R&B, and rap charts with Truth Hurts and 'Cause I Love You. It's all coming 6 years after release of her first album, and she's received praise for her live performances. Lizzo is a leading contender in the upcoming Grammy Award. She has 8 nominations. Outside of music, Lizzo has won over fans for promoting body positivity and denouncing fat shaming. Lizzo is branching out with a role alongside Jennifer Lopez and Cardi B in the movie Hustlers. The Entertainer of the Year votes come from the AP Entertainment staff. I'm Ed Donahue.
And from Washington, I'm Jim Burtell, VOA News.
To all our listeners tuning in to the Rachelle Buchanan Show, the gardening guru of unique detailed gardens and the answer to all your landscape and garden questions. Here now, ladies and gentlemen, Rachelle Buchanan.
Well, quite not. This is Kenneth Howard Smith, and this is the Rachelle Buchanan Show. And I'm basically going to interview the new host to this marvelous new gardening show. And we've got her in studio with us right now, and I'm sharing the mic with her. So anyway, we're just going to get started. It's just going to be a normal talk, something simple. I just want to pick her brain on about picking weeds.
Right.
Rachelle, welcome to the show. Thank you.
Hi, how are you today?
I'm fine. How are you doing?
Good, thanks. Glad to be here.
I'm glad that you're going to be joining the SDC Radio Network with your show called Garden Guru.
I'm tickled. Thank you so much.
And I should say the show is Rachelle Buchanan's Gardening Guru. The Gardening Guru. So, listen, tell us a little bit about yourself. I know this kind of new, maybe not, but what did you think about the weather this year?
Well, it's very cold. Here in our Arizona, it's pretty cold this time of year, so it's very
cold.
Very cold.
Tell me, here's our microphone.
Okay.
And tell me, what was it like? What was the growth like? Was it excessive growth? A lot of growth because of the water? No water? Here in the desert? What was the greenery like?
Very green. We had a lot of water this year, so everything was pretty green, growing continuously. And for next to nothing, of course.
Go ahead, please.
No, I was born in Oak Park, and my grandparents always had a very big garden, so it was cold there too. We grew vegetables year-round there also.
What kind of vegetables did you grow in Oak Park?
All kinds. We had lettuce, potatoes, pumpkins, jalapenos, pickles, strawberries, rhubarb, beets, bok choy, broccoli, Brussels sprouts, cabbage, carrots, celery, clementines. Oh, I'm sorry, that was here.
Tell me about gardening. How did you get into gardening? Did you, like it was me, my mother had a half-acre garden, and that was punishment. Anytime I smarted up as a kid or I got crazy, she made me go out and work in her garden. So I found it as punishment, then again, I ended up loving it. Tell me about your experiences in your grandma's garden.
Well, she used to find me in the strawberry patch, eating all the strawberries, and she'd get quite angry with me, but yes, I was always getting in trouble and having to work in the garden, for sure. getting the peas, what have you. Getting the vegetables. Always working on the weeds. You name it, I was there doing it. Getting in trouble, of course.
Did you have any help, or you by yourself?
By myself, generally. With my grandmother, of course. She was great.
Did you fall in love with gardening or with the plants? What drove you to the garden in the first place?
Heck yeah, I was always a green thumb, always in the middle of the garden. We, the store up the street, we keep them stocked all year round, my grandmother and I. And I'd pick the vegetables, she'd bring them down, and they'd pay her. And she kept the store quite stocked, let me tell you.
And this is in Oak Park?
Yeah, yes, sir.
All right. Was it a small town when you were there?
Yes, it was pretty small. I mean, 50,000 people or so.
Then it was just another place there. But anyway, it got big. Where do your memories really start with coming out here as a young girl in the Mace area? What was it like out here?
Well, I was about 10 years old. I learned gardening and landscape. Culture Center has given.
So you got into horticulture out here. Basically, you just continued what your grandparents and your mom showed you.
Right, always.
What is the thing that you like doing best in gardening?
I like planting mainly. I love doing water gardens, butterfly gardens, vegetable gardens. I love them all.
I seen this one picture of a truck that you had converted into yard art and it had a waterfall coming out the window. How did you come up with that?
Well, actually, I kept asking the people for like 3 months, please let me turn it into, art in your yard, instead of having it just a junker in your yard like it is. And finally, like 3 months later, they allowed me to explore, and I turned it into a beautiful waterfall and pond. It was very nice.
And the picture's available on her blog site,
Rachelle Buchanan's Gardening Gurus.
Yes, at Facebook. Gotcha. All right. Now, what are some of the best things that you have planted?
Probably lettuce. I love growing lettuce. It's like the best thing to grow here. You would think here in the dry climate it doesn't grow good, but actually it really does. Any kind of lettuce, any kind of tomatoes, pickles, pumpkins grow real good. Any kind of squash, you name it, you can grow it here. I'm telling you.
Just a little water, huh?
Yeah, a little bit of water.
The soil, I'd say, does. When a lot of water is introduced to these properties, we get all these strange plants. Well, strange to me from Northern California, but when a lot of water, all of these different kind of weeds, I guess, most people.
Yeah, they are weeds, and they're nuisance mainly.
Where do they come from? What's their origin? Any medicinal effects to them, or none?
No, not.
Nothing with medicine. The goats like the stuff for sure, I'm sure, right?
Yeah, and they're definitely the rabbits. They'll eat it too.
Hey, not to cut you off. Speaking of rabbits, I haven't seen a rabbit around here since I've been out here. How's the rabbits in your neighborhood?
They're quite frequent shoppers here in our gardens for sure. They are always wanting to eat the gardens.
How do you keep them out? What do you do for an outdoor garden to keep the rabbits out? And the birds, too. What do you do, just off the top of your head? What do you do?
Mainly put chicken wire or, some kind of a guard for them, screens, work really well. Greenhouses work really well also. A little bit more spendy, but even like a box raised up off the ground, that's real good too.
I love that. That works out really good.
Heck yeah.
You're a grandmother.
Yes, I am.
You've got 2 lovely daughters and 2 lovely grandchildren.
Yep, Brian and Arian.
Oh, I know they're probably thrilled.
Yes, they are. They love gardening also.
That's good. That's good. Gardeners are the ones that's going to save the world eventually, because the water tables are dropping. Even though with the water that we're having here in Arizona, I don't know how high the water table is, but I'm pretty sure it's substantial, wouldn't you say?
Yes, definitely. It's very substantial. Arizona is a master garden
state.
Yes, definitely.
Okay, well that's true, because you can grow all kind of stuff. Tomatoes, I heard, and you take it. I grew jalapenos this time last year.
Yeah, it's good to grow them in their separate little pots, like terracotta pots.
Oh, you like the terracotta pots?
Yeah, something off the ground. That way, the rodents don't get it also.
I tell you. Hey, we're listening to Ms. Rachelle Buchanan, pardon me. And it's the Rachelle Buchanan Show, Gardening Gurus. So, listen, got one more question for you.
Okay.
They put it out. What do you we're talking one day, I think, about how China is turning the desert into these big, huge farms. And I mean, it's like, they're growing everything. But the craziest thing about it, they're still importing from the United States. How much produce here in Arizona do you think go to China from here? Ballpark figure.
No, I'm not sure exactly. It's
probably not that much, or quite a bit. They're not necessarily starving to death, but never can tell. Where you at?
Okay. I'm lost.
Oh, don't be lost. Don't be lost at all.
I'm lost in the gardens.
We're lost in the gardens.
We usually do get lost in the gardens.
I love it.
It's easy.
What are some exotic things you've grown?
Anywhere from, exotic things.
Oh, kiwi fruit, pineapple,
bananas.
Bananas. I heard somebody can grow bananas here.
Yeah, you can. You can.
I have a problem with avocados. I love them, can't grow them. But I found out that they have to have a freezing point of 300. What is it? 339 kelvins or whatever it is. That number is. I don't. It's something about a freezing point of 339, and some of these trees require 633 in a freezing point before they produce fruit. But they never tell nobody. So they sell all these trees that doesn't even meet a threshold when it gets cold. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, I do. If you build up away from the ground, it's usually a better way to get your vegetables to sprout or flower. Definitely. Some kind of a terracotta plant or pot or anything raised above the ground.
You like the terracotta? Is that locally made clay or?
It's actually in Mexico.
It is Mexican clay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Now the question came up about radiation. Years ago, some of the pottery ware came out of Mexico had radiation particles in it. Have you found out there was anything like that in the clays that you used?
Not so far. Not so far.
It's been pretty clean.
Yeah, as long as you put your good soil in there, and you should be fine. No harsh chemicals like that. God forbid.
Yeah, every once in a while you tackle trees, right?
Yes.
What is the hardest tree you have worked with?
Probably a mesquite. I'm going to say they have a lot of trees that grow everywhere, so they're kind of an abundance to get out of there. I'll definitely have to say a mesquite tree. It's hard to get out of there.
Well, I tell you what, looking at the tree in my front yard, I think that's a mesquite, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
Well, I was putting in my...
oh, no, I'm sorry, that's a Palo Verde.
Oh, it's a Palo Verde?
Yes.
Well, I consider it a predator tree because I tried to start a lawn out there. I guess its roots are so far, it just sucked up all the water. It was incredible. It was very incredible. And it just grew like crazy. So I know I watered it very well.
They're extremely messy too, unfortunately.
But like we were talking about the pods, they're collecting the pods, and actually you can get your pods, the seeds ground up for flour.
Wow, I wasn't aware of that.
On the organic, the vegans, they're really going after these things. Everybody tried to shake down the trees. Every once in a while I get a squirrel, but the birds peck at them every once in a while. But yeah, the vegans are using these seeds. They're growing. They're using it as flour.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to check into that because I'm not too sure about all that, and I'm gonna have to definitely school myself on what they're using for flour these days.
Well, like I said, it's a specialized thing. I mean, the majority of us, we're gonna go to the store and get Albert's or whoever.
It's always good to have that fresh, though. It's always good.
What are some of the pests that you find in gardens that should be growing coming up this growing season?
Aphids are everywhere. Aphids and termites. They don't so much eat our vegetables, but they eat everything around the vegetables. So they might as well eat the vegetables too. And they're pesky for sure. As long as you have some praying mantis or ladybugs, you'll be fine.
You know what? Did we hear? Well, I think aren't you one of the people that import ladybugs and praying mantises to some of the job sites that you work with?
We do, yes, definitely, and we usually give them out and make sure that everybody has them because they're good pesticides, rather than have some chemicals on your plants and stuff that you don't even really know or register what's actually in that pesticide. It's way better to have the ladybugs and the praying mantis for sure. Instead of those harsh chemicals.
These chemicals are getting a lot of people in trouble, aren't they?
I think so, definitely. It's kind of like the nuclear. That's
we overuse it. We never hear about DDT anymore.
Thank God, it's out of here. It's way. There's too much of that lingering in our soils today. Even they used way too much of that in the past.
You think it's having a problem on us as humans?
Hopefully not as bad as it has been. I mean, there has been signs of it everywhere. So,
where do you see gardening in 5 years? Say in 10 years from now, how gardening is going to be? We know the farmers are getting slaughtered right now by our beloved president. They're just, the suicide rate up high among farmers. They don't talk about that. These people are losing, God, 150, 200 farms a month. What, you got any?
A lot of it's the weather. A lot of it's the weather too, freezing our farms out and everything. We just gotta make sure we gotta make sure that we pick our crops before the frost. I mean, you just gotta be on it.
Well, flooding too has been an issue.
Yes, definitely.
And then they had all of these miraculous plants, you know, like the soybeans and the corn and all this other stuff. They couldn't sell it. It was in the bins, and then the floods came in, blew up the beans and blew up the bins.
Yeah.
So then you sell the farm.
Yeah. That's what they want to do.
You know, and is it climate change? Do you believe in climate change?
Absolutely, definitely. It puts a toll on everything.
Everything.
Everything, definitely.
It stresses out the plants in the desert areas?
Somewhat, yes. Gardening in Arizona it's an oxymoron. The fact is, gardening can tremendously be rewarding here.
Well, hey, we're speaking to Rachelle Buchanan on the Rachelle Buchanan Show, and the gardening guru. And we're going to be back. We're going to play music. We're going to take a break right quick for a hot second, play some new music from the SDC Digital Music Library. Thank you. And we'll be back after the song, and we're going to talk a little bit about the song and see whether we like it or not. Okay? Hang in there with us.
God, I got lost.
This is a radio station of the SDC Radio Network.
I was nervous.
To the best station on the net, around the planet on the World Wide Web, the Daily Dose. Don't go anywhere. In the mix.
Good afternoon to all our listeners tuning in to the Rachelle Buchanan Show, the gardening guru of unique detailed gardens and the
Sandbar table, sand black label, different unhappy hour, sand tall brunette, hadn't found the nerve just yet. Tell her about the wheels that I've had spinning in my head. My buddy Jack went over, put in his 2 cents. Told her everything I'd said in confidence. He told her that the neon light shining off her hair hypnotizes me. Told her I'd undress her with my eyes, and we like it what we see. After a slap in the face and a few choice words, that boy made a fool out of me. With buddies like Jack, who needs an enemy? Got a new friend, I shouldn't have let him in. How the story came about. We went back last night. We swore we could make things right. Just drink up and pour her out. After a shot or 6, Jose walked up to her, slurred everything I'd said, word for word. Told her I was sorry about the other night if I came on too strong. Told her about the way she hit me, thought it might be fun. We home. After a slap in the face and a few choice words, that boy made a fool out of me. With buddies like Jose, who needs an enemy? After a slap in the face and a few choice words, those boys made a fool out of me. With buddies like Jack, buddies like Jose, with buddies like that, who needs an enemy? With buddies like that, gotta just stay at home.
Are you thinking about buying medicine online? A search for online pharmacies yields more than 20 million results. But which ones can you trust? Medicines bought from unlicensed online pharmacies can be dangerous. You may get a fake drug, your condition may get worse, or you may experience a bad reaction. Don't put your health at risk. To learn how to find an online pharmacy that's safe and legal, visit fda.gov/BeSafeRx. A message from the U.S. Food and Drug Administration.
This is a radio station of the SDC radio networks.
Lock it on to the best station on the net, around the planet on the World Wide Web. The Daily Dose. Don't go anywhere. In the mix.
Good afternoon to all our listeners tuning in to the Rachelle Buchanan Show, the garden guru of unique detailed gardens and the answer to all your landscape and garden questions. Here now, ladies and gentlemen, Rachelle Buchanan.
Welcome back.
Hi, how you doing?
Oh, we're hanging in there. I saw you breaks never long enough. But anyway, that's why we have short shows. I like to beat our people up. But anyway, the song that you heard earlier from the SDC digital streaming services was sung by a young man named Krause. And the song is called With Buddies Like That. And it's a southern gospel type country rock song, getting a lot of flavor. Our station, our sister station, I should say, KD10, is blowing it up, and he looks like he's heading for the Grammys. So, again, we just knocked down a couple more artists around. But anyway, back to our guest, Miss Rachelle Buchanan.
You know, Gardening in Arizona tips and tricks and resources are posted in by the fill plate, by your fill plate. Even though the word desert and garden seem like an oxymoron, the fact is that gardening in Arizona can be tremendously rewarding. All it takes is information and adaptability. The first is available from a number of reliable online resources like the publication Desert Botanical Garden, the blog Phoenix Gardening, and the University of Arizona's manual, Arizona's Master Gardener. The second depends on one's temperament.
I love those notes, and you're correct. Continue on, please.
There are many sayings about gardeners and gardens. Some of them pithy, some profound. Cicero, the Greek philosopher, said that a man with a garden and a library had everything he needed in life. I like this one by an anonymous author better. God made rainy days so gardeners could get the housework done.
That's a good one. That's a good one.
Right.
I love your notes. I'll tell you, with a lot of people going vegan, do you do a lot of vegan gardens for a lot of clients?
I do. Yes, definitely.
So some of the platforms that you put gardens in, There's some are raised and some are on the ground itself.
Yes, this area is located.
Not that many.
Not too many.
So what the people that get here from the snowbirds that they're called. I was a snowbird once, I guess. Do they do any gardening while they're here during the wintertime?
I'm sorry, what was that question?
Do the snowbirds who come down for the wintertime, do they do any gardening while they're here?
Most of them do somewhat of a garden. You know, they'll do it on their windowsills and in their terracotta pots, what have you, 5-gallon buckets, mostly on their windowsills and what have you. That's how they like to do it.
Well, you brought up a word right next to my heart, windowsills.
Yeah.
Food deserts in the city. Would you believe that?
Yes, definitely.
Remember, I think was it Ron Popeil used to have the grow it yourself kit in a box. Yeah, I think it was really cheap. It was like what, $5.99, $4.99, get two for $9.99, but wait or something. And you used to get these little growing pots that you used to sprinkle with, put the seeds and put them in the windows, and they would grow different kinds of lettuce year-round, all the time. And onions, you just chop off, and they just perpetually just kept growing as long as you give them water and sunshine.
Yeah, definitely. They grow great.
Do you think, have we gotten away from that?
No, we really haven't. There's a lot of people with just gardens on their countertops, gardens in their windowsills, 5-gallon buckets, like I said, terracotta pots, you name it. You know, raised platforms made out of wood. They're everywhere. Hopefully more.
and the cities, and where can you buy these kits? You got any ideas?
Home Depot sells them. We sell them. Lowe's, you name it.
And you can have custom seed sales. You can do a custom pot plant system too. So like you can do, say like people want to grow radish or something, and they don't, and you can give them you could give them a custom seed tray, basically just a packet of seeds and dirt, huh?
Yeah, definitely.
So you can give them basically what would grow in the area. But if you're indoors, basically everything grows in every area.
Right. You can definitely the atmosphere. You can regulate it quite well.
What is most dearest to your heart? The one thing that dreams are made of for you?
I just want to have everybody in their homes grow a garden for each of their their families. Each person have a garden, so we could get rid of this global warming and all that good stuff. It would be an end to it if everybody would grow their own vegetables.
What about grow your own medicine?
That too, definitely.
What do you think is going to happen with the laws here in Arizona? You think they're going to legalize marijuana one of these days, or they're not?
I think they definitely will. That's my opinion, though.
They've got the CBD thing out.
Yeah.
And I see the ads on TV. They've gone national with these ads. They're everywhere. And it's like, it's such a rip-off here in this state, I think. This is my opinion. Not yours, Miss Buchanan. I apologize. But, I saw this in Colorado where the doctors got rich off signing certificates. Then after about 4 years, the government just said, hey, just make it recreational and throw the tags in the trash.
Yeah. That's really terrible.
Yeah.
So,
What you got?
I got some here.
What you got?
They can also include low winter and high summer temperature. No, I'm not afraid for it.
We had the love pause and listen to music. It's alright. I tell you what you knew at the mic, everything goes. These are the ones that you remember. These are the ones that they will play forever and ever and ever because I love them to death. And these are the ones that it's called cutting your teeth out. But it's alright. I think you're doing a marvelous job and I can see your great success. We just basically have to figure out how to get our subject matter down to a point to where we can talk about anything and everything when you can. Because the subject garden is not just pulling weeds and chopping trees and limbs. It gets very personal. You know, CO2 levels. You know, you're right. You know,
chemical levels, everything matters. Definitely.
We've poisoned ourselves beyond. Plastic is in every fiber of our body. Teflon's in every fiber of our body. We're walking around styrofoam cups, you know?
Yeah, everything is out of hand. We need to get it tackled and get it situated so we can have better soil for sure.
What do you want for your grandkids in the gardening? What do you see for them?
Clean up the soil. Clean up the soil. I can't say it enough. We need to clean up the soil any way possible. Potatoes are a good way to get the soils clean. Definitely, they suck out everything that's in the soil. You discard those potatoes and grow new ones in the better soil that after they have been cleaned and circulated.
Okay, so basically you're talking about you'd have to triple grow a piece of land with potatoes to extract the toxins.
Exactly.
Out of the and those potatoes, what would you do with them?
I would discard them definitely because it's getting all that yuck out of the soil for sure. The first probably 2 rounds, I would definitely get rid of those and until I grow new fresh ones. Definitely.
Has Arizona ever been known as being the potato capital of the world?
Yes, it has actually. I don't remember what year it was.
Back in 1800s, 1900s?
Yeah, something like that. I remember definitely we grew potatoes everywhere.
Everywhere. Different strains, or the one that kind of particularly that you remember that your mother grew pretty easily here? Which one? Probably many potatoes. Which one grow with the russets or
probably the russets? Yeah,
the russets. Yeah.
They grow anywhere.
yeah, I guess so. It's the all-purpose mashed potato, not just enough moisture in it. They make great French fries. God, great baked potatoes.
Heck yeah.
Oh, sour cream and chives. Oh, yeah.
Sounds wonderful.
I tell you.
Sounds like I'm hungry.
Do you remember? Did Wendy's at one time used to have a baked potato?
Right.
And you used to get with chili and all kinds of stuff on it.
Yeah.
Do they still do that?
Yeah, they sure do.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. Just for a few dollars, too. It's pretty cheap.
That's not bad. It's, big cup of sugar, but what can we say?
Right.
Like one thing, I learned how to cook from Julia Childs as a kid. Now I'm gonna date myself real quick here. When we had television, there were only 3 channels.
Wow.
And they came.
You're old. No, I'm just kidding.
And they came on during the weekends. Basically, it was kids' TV. They came on like about maybe 8 o'clock. You used to watch the Indian Head. Listen to this.
That was a little bit before my time, I'm afraid.
So one of the shows amongst, Howdy Doody time was Julia Child. And I kind of grew up watching Julia Child cook, and she loved potatoes. That was the point I had. She liked potatoes any kind of way, and I watched. She basically taught me how to cook. I'm very appreciative of it. You know, TV was new, and so it was nothing else on.
You're forced to.
Yeah, so you were
gonna watch this, or else.
Yeah, you're Captain Royal. Turn the channel and watch the Indian Head. You know. Right. But yeah, that's how it kind of worked out. It was kind of obscene, I swear, but it
could have been worse. Now
it could have. How does grapes grow out here?
Wonderfully, they grow wonderfully everywhere.
There's a grape that's in Alabama, that out by Smith Station, that grows. I swear it's the size of a golf ball.
Wow!
And they grow in clusters, and they're like a muscatel or a muscat, something kind of like. But like I used to, when I'd go down there and find them, they got to grow wild everywhere. And you get them and you put them in the freezer and they freeze them. You dip them in cold hot water real quick and the skin would fall off. You pop them in your mouth and it becomes like a grape cherry, a grape lollipop. You know, And so this. And I tried to get something to grow out in California. I got a cutting, but I never could get it to grow. I was very disappointed. Wow. Because I always thought, like, man, you go to the store and buy a bunch of grapes, you get like 8 for like $4, you know. That's about it. Yeah, each one would be absolutely crazy, you know.
Yeah, they're good grapes. That's fine.
What is your favorite grape?
I just like the regular green, large grapes. They're not good.
Thompson seedless?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. That's always a good grape. That grape has proliferated all around the country, and I think it's a really... It's an everyday grape. You can make wine of it. When I had nothing to do, sometimes I'd make wine out of grapes. We had so many of them, it was treacherous. That or the deer would get them, so and the deer would always be at the grape pile eating grapes, you know. You try to scare them away in the window.
Kind of like me with the strawberries.
Yeah. So this is my home in Colorado when I lived out in Elizabeth and Lyman, and our local neighbor out there was Wilbert Brimley, the actor.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, he had a ranch out there. We all had to hang out in the same library and stuff. So I had some pretty interesting neighbors that lived out there with me. And I personally, we had a little small buffalo ranch. Hey, enough of me. I'm talking crazy. I must be having a good time.
You must have been drinking a lot of wine.
Oh, yeah, I always have a drink. But we really got a chance to share the wealth. Now, when people have these abundance of gardens, what do you do? You got to beat the birds to them, but when you do beat the birds to them, all of a sudden you find yourself with all these little sacks of food. If you don't have a big family like a guy like me would.
So you donate them. Donate them to charities,
neighbors.
Churches. Yes, definitely. Everybody would love to eat fresh vegetables. I know I do. I enjoy them very much.
How does cabbage grow out here? We know that.
Very good.
Cabbage grow really well.
Yeah. I can pretty much grow anything out here. I've never had trouble with not one item have I ever had trouble with growing here. So.
Oh yes, all right. Listen, if you're coming in late, or if you just tuned in, or if you just turned up your headphones, we are talking to Miss Rachel Buchanan of the Rachel Buchanan Show and the Garden Guru. And this is basically her first broadcast in podcasting and radio. Scared to death. I love it so. Hey, check this out. I lost a really good friend and a guy that gave me a job a couple of days ago. It's Captain Don Imus. When I was a kid in college, and not to take this away from you, Rachel, I apologize, but just to get you a little bit how I got in the radio, not to laugh at you, but to laugh at myself, is that I became an intern at KUTY at 1470 out of Palmdale, California. And one of the radio DJs out there on the line was Don Imus. I became his intern. And the first thing he did was taught me how to read grooves on a record. Alright, the record was too slow, you'd be slow grooves. If the grooves are fast, it's a fast record. So I had to separate them into piles of slow grooves and fast grooves. And I tell you, the guy is pretty sharp at picking out good records, I tell you. But he taught me how to spin records, and he basically gave me a career. Anyway, he passed away. I wanted to let him know that, he told me to go to Don Martin School of Broadcasting. I think I went to audit and got drafted and off to the military in Vietnam I went and never got a chance to go back. But I did observe, and I have always adhered to their broadcasting standards. I think Don Martin was great. Don Imus, hey, good God bless your soul. I know you made a lot of mistakes. God love you. Everybody knows, no matter how they talk about the love, they spell your name right. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, but he used to beat my knuckles a lot, teach me how to spin records. But yeah, Don Imus, Captain Don Imus. I wrote an article about him, a little small article, years ago in Life magazine. So, just give him a couple of minutes. He got a chance to play a couple of our albums on his shows. It was the Cassidy Fankhauser Band with the late Ed Cassidy from Spirit, and Merle Fankhauser got a real wife out too, so it was a good time. It was a good day. But anyway, back to just gardening.
Haven't we covered most of the...
Have we covered everything for the parameters for the show? Oh, this is where basically the fun time starts. This is where the show really begins. Now I tell you what, we're at the end of it. You heard that, oh no. Like I tell you, you can only do so much, because I get tired of me, and I know you get tired of me. But we will not get tired of Miss Rachel Buchanan and the gardening guru. Like I said, this is her first podcast, and it will live in infamy forever, and it's going to be fantastic when they look back at this when she's really famous and things are going really great. She will have a laugh and smoke a bowl. And laugh and laugh and laugh. And laugh as she puts it out in her gold ashtray. Anyway, we want to thank each and every last one of you hanging out with us. And this has been an introduction of Ms. Rachelle Buchanan at the Rachelle Buchanan Show. Alright, so people, as we say, thank you very much for hanging out with us.
You're awesome.
Thank you.
Have a great one.
Good afternoon to all our listeners tuning in to the Rachelle Buchanan Show, the gardening guru of unique detailed gardens and the answer to all your landscape and garden questions. Here now, ladies and gentlemen, Rachelle Buchanan.
This is a radio station of the SDC Radio Networks.
Lock it on to the best station on the net, around the planet on the World Wide Web. The Daily Dose. Don't go anywhere. In the mix.